Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chef Pete Schellenbach. I'd like to welcome you to the Manitowoc booth, and if you'd like to come and join me for a few minutes to talk about some of the great technology that we have and some of the exciting changes that have been going on at Manitowoc. As the world's largest manufacturer of food service equipment, we know that we can't maintain that position by standing still. And recently, Manitowoc has shown its agility by forming a new division. That new division is called the Manitowoc Ovens Group. The Ovens Group is comprised of some of our industry-leading brands: Convotherm, Cleveland, Mary Chef, Lincoln, Merco, and Garland. Please feel free to stop around any of the parts of the booth that you want to see any of those individual brands. The Oven Group is being led by a leadership team that has more than 150 years of combined food service experience. So you can be sure that they're going to be very steady hands guiding the company out of this difficult economic time that we've been struggling through lately. The Oven Group was formed in response to several factors. Primarily, though, it's based on enhanced customer service and better manufacturing techniques. Under the leadership domestically of Rick Cutler and Martin Beal in Europe, the Oven Group is uniquely positioned to provide outstanding innovation and excellent streamlined manufacturing across all of the family of brands. There are several groups around, several people around the booth that you can go to, approach, and ask them for information. We have lots of culinary support, we have technical support and sales support here. And anybody with the attractive silver or gold name badges that identify them as being from one of the group will be more than happy to answer your questions. I want to tell you a little bit about some of the amazing technology that we're using at Manitowoc. And more specifically about accelerated cooking. Accelerated cooking refers to the concept where we are taking more than one type of cooking technology and putting it together in the same platform. By putting them together like that, we enhance the qualities of both. So that might be the combination of steam and convection air that we have in our Convotherm combination ovens or in our Garland Moisture Plus ovens. It might be the combination of impingement and infrared technology that we have in our Lincoln impingers. Or it might be that lightning fast combination of convection, impingement, and microwave assist that we have in the Mary Chef speed ovens. Now, like I said, anybody around the booth that is one of the Manitowoc team members is going to be able to help you with any questions that you have. But I'm specifically going to talk about some of these accelerated platforms right now. I'm going to start with a combination oven, the Convotherm combination oven. As I said before, it cooks with a combination of steam and convection air, and the combination of those two will produce about a 20% faster cook rate than conventional ovens alone. But how does that happen? Well, it happens because steam, although it doesn't sound very cutting edge, I know it's been around for a long time, it powered the Industrial Revolution, I know it's been around, but steam is actually an incredibly powerful method of cooking. But a little bit about steam. It doesn't cook with 212 degrees of temperature. 212 degrees in the world that we work in is not very hot. If you can think about how long it would take to cook something in a 212 degree oven, that's not very hot. It's hot, it's actually cool enough that you can touch. If you want to think about how we test an iron before you iron clothes, you touch it, right? You don't want to leave your hand on it very long, but you can touch something 212 degrees. But steam doesn't cook with 212 degrees of temperature. Steam cooks with BTUs. It cooks with a lot of BTUs. It takes 972 BTUs of energy to turn water into steam. Steam, which is a gas, traps those BTUs, holds them until that steam comes into contact with something like food. When it does, it releases the BTUs into the food, and that's what cooks the food. And it cooks fast. If you've ever been burned by steam, you know how fast that burn happened. But there's a problem with steam. Steam can't brown. Browning occurs when either the Maillard reaction happens or caramelization happens, and steam doesn't get that hot, doesn't get hot enough to start those reactions. So we need to put another technology in, and that technology is a convection current or convection air. The convection fan that we have in the Convotherm ovens, in the mini oven here, it's in the back. It is a 2-speed fan. It's a 2-speed fan, high and low, and it is also auto-reversing. So every 2 minutes through the cook cycle, that fan changes direction. What that means for the person using the oven is that it's a very even baking pattern, top to bottom and front to back in the cabinet. So when you combine the speed of the steam with the evenness of that browning that occurs with a convection fan, you've got a win. But then when you combine some of the other great features of the ovens, like our disappearing door on the full-size combis, our easy touch panel here with a touchscreen, picture-based menu, very easy to use. Also, we have a new feature called EcoCook. EcoCook enables us to get great results using 25% less electricity or 25% less gas. And that's a huge savings, a fourth. I mean, that's a lot. So let's also take a look at the Garland Moisture Plus oven. Again, we're combining two technologies. This time it's steam and convection again in a different platform. The steam benefits still occur in the convection oven, and what that oven is particularly good for is baking breads and pastries. When you inject steam against bread dough, a phenomenon called oven spring happens. The steam hits the dough and it springs out. And that dough springing out is how you get that great crust development on the bread. Or it would be great for doing pastries or baked goods like croissants. A croissant's what's called a laminated dough, lots of little layers. And when the steam hits those layers, the layers expand apart. And that's what makes a croissant so flaky and has all those delicate little layers of dough. That steam works great in the convection oven. See, you know. Okay, so like I said, the combination oven will cook probably about, we usually work with numbers about 20% faster when we're adjusting recipes from a regular convection oven to a combi. About 20% faster is what we're finding. Some items cook much faster than that. But what if you're really, really in a hurry? What if you really need to go fast? Well, then we have you covered with Mary Chef, the Mary Chef Icon series of speed ovens, which combine 3 technologies at once. I'm going to talk a little bit about the E2 and the E4. All right, convection currents helps browning, helps heat transfer. Talked about that. Now, what if we kept that technology and then added in another airflow? Let's add in another airflow, and instead of bringing it from the back or from the side, let's turn it and bring it from the top and the bottom. And then we'll focus that airflow into very narrow and precise columns. We actually call it columnated air. And then we accelerate those air columns up to 60 miles an hour. That is clearly no longer regular convection cooking. That is impingement. That's the impingement technology in the E4. In the E2, we've refined that even further to a concept called planar plumes. And planar plumes refer to those superheated jets of air, but instead of columns straight up and down, the planar plumes actually fan out and a sheet of hot air hits the food at a very even angle across the top of the food. That's the E2. Whenever you put food in an oven, it's surrounded by a cold layer. And that cold layer has to be removed before the food can begin to cook. Impingement means to strike with force. And that's what an impinger does. It strikes the food and breaks apart that cold layer, allowing the heat to penetrate and cook the food. And if that's all we had done, it would already be a big benefit. But in the speed ovens, we add the extra power of microwave assistance. Now, the microwaves in those ovens are launched from the side, and the reason that that matters is because it allows us to use metal pans. You don't have to purchase new pans, new different materials. Regular metal pans will work in those microwave ovens. So you've got the incredible speed of microwaves, which actually is a moist heat cooking method. And a lot of people don't know that, but microwaves excite the moisture in the food, and the moisture is what generates the heat. So it's actually a moist heat cooking method. So you've got the microwave speed, the impingement to break apart the cold layer, add the browning, and you've got the convection fan in there as well. 17 times faster. But a little more about those. They don't require a hood. Now, no offense to any of our partner companies that we've worked with, but everyone knows that the hood does eat up a large chunk of the budget when you're building out a kitchen. These ovens don't require a hood. They have a catalytic converter that scrubs the air clean so there's no smell coming out of the oven. And they also have something called cool skin technology where you can literally walk up and touch the oven, give it a hug when it's running at 550 degrees. Touch the outside of the oven. That frees up where you can put this oven. Let me give you a practical example of what that can mean. Everyone likes to have that welcoming basket of bread when they get to a table. You get to the table and they bring you fresh bread and it's so nice, it smells homey. Well, the thing is that what if you could actually cook the bread when the table arrived for each individual table? Think about that. What a great shtick, huh? You could make the bread, you could bake the bread for each table when they get there. Now, let me add a little more to that. Because the ovens are so easy to program, I can put that oven, because it doesn't need a hood and it's got cool skin technology, out in the server station in the restaurant. So now the server can go to a refrigerator, take out the bread, put it in the oven, press a button, bake the bread to order for each individual table as they arrive. Now, what have I done? I've gotten a great shtick. It's always fresh bread. And I've removed the pressure of the kitchen. They don't have to bake the bread and hold it somewhere. And in the expo area in the middle of the hourglass, you don't have the extra congestion of the servers coming back and getting bread. That's win all the way around. That's just a huge win, all right? Okay, so that's a practical example. Another example would be like with a room service menu or in a healthcare facility where we've gone to a room service model. The food can be prepped in a different location and then cooked to order on each individual floor. So the food doesn't have to travel from 10 stories below from a main kitchen up an elevator and all, however it had to get there. The food can be in a small satellite kitchen with the Mary Chef speed oven and retherm on the floor so it only has to travel from down the hall. Great example. And if you're a golfer, be a great little oven to put at the turn so you could get a sandwich, a little hot sandwich at the turn. So I mentioned the cool skin technology, and that's really nice because it doesn't throw off heat into the kitchen. Well, we have another item that does that, and that is the induction burners from Garland. The Garland induction burners, to me, the most fascinating thing about them is that they are 99% efficient, that you don't find efficiency rates that way in cooking. But the reason they're so efficient is all of the energy that goes into the unit is transferred into the pot that sits on the burner. And the pot itself becomes the heating element. Since it's the pot that's the heating element, 99% of the energy that's being used goes into the food. And that's great. Also, it's safer because there's not an open flame. It doesn't get hot around it, so it's great for satellite or doing an omelet station, that kind of thing. But more importantly, it doesn't throw off heat. There's no open flame or open coil to heat up the air in the kitchen. So it goes with that old saying, right? If you can't stand the heat, then buy some induction. So we've cooked all this food, and now we've probably chilled it down in a Delfield, blast chiller or some sort of Delfield piece, maybe a Versadrawer. And now we need to rethermalize that food. We need to get that food back up to serving temperature. How are we going to do that? Well, all of the equipment that we make will do some rethermalization, in the oven group especially. We also have a sister company, Frymaster, that makes a great rethermalizer. Theirs is a water immersion rethermalizer. Great for doing larger quantities of food. Actually has inserts that hold the plastic bags down in the water until they come up to serving temperature. And that's a great piece. We've talked a little bit about the Mary Chef and how it can rethermalize. Let's talk about Lincoln for a second. The Lincoln Impinger conveyor is a great product for doing rethermalization because of the consistency. When you take a conveyor belt, set at a certain speed, and you have an oven that is set at a certain temperature, everything you put on the belt at this end, as it moves through the oven, will only be in the oven for a specific amount of time at a specific temperature. That consistency is really valuable when you are going across an entire day part, like all through breakfast. You know that your muffin is going to take 3 minutes, and it's every muffin that you put on this side of the belt, 3 minutes later comes out here perfect, every time. So it can both cook or rethermalize. We'll talk a little bit more about rethermalization with the combination oven. Our combination ovens are designed specifically to be able to rethermalize food either in an a la carte plate, it's one single plate, a buffet pan that is for scooping and serving, or the big ovens, and you see them over there. We've got our largest oven, will hold 96 plates on a trolley. You roll in 96 plates at one time, and I can rethermalize 96 plates in about 14 minutes, is what we're finding. That's great. That's great stuff. I just love that. Now, if you see me walking around the booth and want to talk a little bit more about plated rethermalization, or if you see Chef Hans Sell, the little guy in the middle over there, he and I have done some extensive work with plated rethermalization and would be more than happy to get up on our soapboxes and talk about it because we really like that technology. Also, if you need information about sous vide cooking, we have Chef David Ash, who is over in the cooking studio, also from Cleveland Range, and he would be more than happy to talk sous vide with you. And this leads me to a point. The culinary power that we have at Manitowoc Food Service is unmatched in the industry. It does not matter what problem, what solution you need to find from a culinary angle, the experience and the creativity that we can unleash as a culinary team will solve those problems for you. And no one else can touch us with that. It's fantastic. If you've got a food problem, we will find you a solution. And that's basically what I wanted to end with. So I wanted to thank everybody for coming and listening to my discussion of the changes that we've made organizationally. And I also wanted to tell you a little bit about the equipment. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me right now or as I walk through the booth.